So, Miss Marla Goldberg is about to rock your world. The journey to loving yourself. We're going to dive in. You're going to get some greatness, a huge, huge, huge dose of greatness. Before we dive into that, if you are an entrepreneur, a leader, a purpose-driven human being, a world changer, and you want to impact the world in an even bigger way, come talk to me. Would love to support you getting your message out, whatever that might look like, one-on-one coaching, helping you launch your podcast, or possibly doing an interview on the 12-hour marathon, becoming your greatest possible self. Let's explore, see how we can support each other and grow together. You can find me on Instagram at I am Millionaire Chris, Facebook.com/TH3 Burns, or go to beyourgps.com and see what we can do for you there. Thanks so much. Looking forward to growing together even more. And let's talk about the iTunes review of the week. This week it's by David Shahade, and David says Chris is fantastic. The first time I listened to Chris, I knew he is the real deal. He will inspire you to move up higher on the ladder of life wherever you are, as long as you have the desire to learn. Thank you, Chris, for the great work. David, thanks so much for really sharing your heart and what you appreciate about me and the show with our audience and on iTunes. Thank you so much for doing that. And if you're listening or watching right now and you want to support us and give us a review, let us know what you love. Go to iTunes, beyourgps.com/iTunes, or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on iTunes. You can find us there, give us a review, and let us know your feedback. Or you can just DM me and let me know personally, take a screenshot, shout you out on the Instagram, Facebook stories, and just say how much I appreciate you. Also, make sure you subscribe on iTunes, beyourgps.com/iTunes, and make sure that you keep getting all these amazing episodes, because we release an episode just about every day. So stay tuned for all of that greatness and stay inspired, stay plugged in, and keep learning about who are the people, the leaders, the experts, the transformational human beings who can help you because they were once in your shoes. I know Marla is going to be sharing a really powerful journey to love yourself that maybe you are excited to embark on. She can definitely help you with that. So stay tuned, because we're going to bring her on in just a moment here. Grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, be ready to take notes, be ready to learn and integrate and take action on and implement this wisdom, because it's great to listen to it. It's a whole nother thing to actually take action on it and do something with it. And that's what separates, in my opinion, the people who are just out there talking about loving themselves and wanting to do that and wanting to have a better life and more fulfillment, better relationships, more money, talking about it, and those that actually go out and they get that and they create that freaking reality. So we're going to interview Marla. Let's introduce her and bring her on the screen in just a moment. Miss Marla Goldberg is an energy healer, intuitive speaker, teacher, and host of Guided Spirit Conversation podcast, and a best-selling author of My Fucking Long Journey to Loving Myself, a guide to a shorter path. Her mission in life is to help others either enhance their current life circumstances or to shift them. Marla accomplishes her mission to help the healing and growth of others through her one-to-one client sessions, her speaking engagements, workshops, podcasts, and latest book, My Fucking Long Journey to Loving Myself, a guide to a shorter path. I love that I get to say fucking twice in the introduction for Marla. Marla, you ready to rock the house, Superwoman?
I am ready to rock the house, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to have a blast, and thank you for taking time to share about your long journey and all that you've learned in the process with our audience. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate you, and I appreciate being here.
Yes. All right, let's dive right in. The theme of today is freedom to fly. What does that mean to you, Marla? Freedom to fly.
Wow. I just have this visual of just like an eagle taking off of a side of a cliff, just flowing and going and just taking where the current, the current plus your energy takes you to a destination of unknown excitement.
Wow. I love it. I love that. When I ask that question, a lot of people will give me let's say a logical answer to what does it mean? I love your answer because I get an experiential relation of what it means to you. And I think it's super powerful. I feel you stepping into the energy of that. And I think the people who can do that are the most in tune with their own energy, their own awareness, their own ability to create. And I really love how you shared that. That's powerful, Marla.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So we're going to dive into who you are and what you stand for and what your clients come to you for. I mentioned it in the intro, but in your own words, why don't you share that with us, Marla?
So who I am, I'm on a journey. I will always be on a journey. I will always be learning. And what I want to do is share my lessons to make someone else's journey a little less rocky, bumpy or challenging. And so that's who I am. I feel that today I can be very heart-centered, and I lead from the heart, where back in the day where, before I started going down this path, I was so protected because I had been so hurt growing up. And some from other people, meaning family, teachers, whatever. But a lot of the pain came from myself, from decisions that I made that didn't serve me well. So,
and that wisdom that you can now share with people is so valuable. I think the power of being a mentor or a coach to guide people to avoid making those same mistakes and to walk a more loving, conscious, empowered, fulfilling, joyous path. That's like in life, that's almost everything, like to be able to make it more fun, more enjoyable. If you're not enjoying life and feeling like you love life, something's missing. Something's not quite hitting the mark, because we all have the capacity to do it. And of course, there's going to be times when we don't. And most of the time, I think it's in our divine birthright to be able to experience that and create that for ourselves.
I'm so glad you said that, because it is in our divine birthright. I mean, we're brought on this earth not just to learn lessons and to grow, but to live a life that's divinely wonderful for ourselves. Free ourselves from the binds that a lot of times we put on ourselves. Because as you know, we're our own worst critic. We wouldn't talk to anybody as badly as we talk to ourselves. It's, the self-talk that people, and I was one of them.
Yeah.
And today, I'm much gentler on myself.
Yeah.
But I was an abuser. I was a self-abuser. And I'm going to label myself that. Not that I'm keen on labels, but it's a good way to point it, because, I would make these dumb decisions that I thought were really smart. I thought like, I've got it all. I've got, I'm going to do this. I've thought it out, blah, blah, blah. And, oh my God, they were disastrous on so many levels. And so they truly, truly were. And I just would say, oh, Marla, how could you do that? You know better, blah, 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 blah. And just, nobody has talked to me the way I've talked to myself. So, but now I talk to myself in such a loving, caring way that I like my conversations.
Yeah, it's like, I think a lot of people are concerned about like talking out loud, and they might feel weird talking in the mirror or talking to themselves, and it's like that is some of the best conversation you could possibly ever have when you treat yourself well. But if you talk down on yourself, it's some of the worst conversations that you could ever have.
It's so true. It is so true. And I have to share, I have a big dog. He's 103 pounds. Wow. And every morning he has to be walked. Yep. Well, he has to be walked more than just in the morning, because he won't use the yard. So we've trained him that way. Yep. And in the morning, I do my morning prayers, and I do them out loud. And I do them out loud because I have a belief that when you say things out loud, Spirit hears it clearer.
Yes.
They can read your mind, but why make it difficult for them? Make it easy. So I look like one of these people who walking down the street talking to themselves as I go through my very, very, very long ritual of prayer.
Yes.
So,
yes. Yeah. No. In the gym, like I'm on a treadmill and I'm like affirming. I'm listening to either a positive motivational tape, and that's like it's fueling my empowerment and reminding me, hey, I'm in the state of empowerment right now. But I still I don't usually talk very loud. It's more of like a whisper and like moving my mouth. But it's like distinguishable, distinguishable to the universe and distinguishable to myself, saying, hey, I'm willing to be this person, becoming my greatest possible self wherever I'm at. And then also your point of, spirit hears it when you speak it out. It
Yes.
actually is also literally moving matter. And that's
Yes.
what activates the creation in this 3D dimension. Thought is on a higher dimension, right? Like we're sending out all kinds of incredible waves that attract things to us through the law of attraction. But speaking and moving and having conversations with other people, writing, journaling is activating 3D dimension and particles to be able to create the reality even more effectively.
Exactly. It's so true. So true.
I love it. This is awesome. I love having these conversations. So Marla, you had a long journey. Tell
Long,
us
long journey.
about that journey and where did it all begin for you?
So I was born and raised in the city of Chicago, and my parents were both professionals, but they were professionals who probably shouldn't have had children because
Mm.
through their disappointments and everything else, they just went inward and they were just licking their own wounds so much that they
Wow.
weren't paying attention to my brother, sister, and I. And we were given a tremendous amount of freedom, and each one of us went down our own roads. But I'm only going to talk about my road
Mm-hmm.
because it's silly to talk about theirs. That's theirs.
Right.
They own that. Um, but so I don't know if you're familiar with Chicago, but where I lived was on the outskirts in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And at 10 years old, I was taking myself to the eye doctor in downtown Chicago. So I had to take 2 buses and a train
Wow.
to get to downtown Chicago at 10 years old. And I thought, doesn't everybody do this? Is this what everybody does? I took skating lessons and I would have to take 2 buses and through some sketchy neighborhoods. And then going there during the day wasn't challenging, but going back at night,
Yeah.
I would be afraid and I'd be by myself. And so I had this whole ritual that while waiting for the bus, I'd stand near people
Mm-hmm.
so people would think I was part of the group.
Wow.
I would take my skate guard off. So if anybody came near me, I'd have what I thought would be a weapon. But my God, I'm 10, 11, 12 years old. How strong could I be?
Right.
And then, when I got off the second bus, how I would walk, I'd look to make sure whose lights are on, who could I go to, where could I run? So I was always preparing myself that if God forbid something would happen,
Yeah.
I had a plan. And so I did that for years. And that was, but again, I thought, well, why doesn't anybody else's parents let their kids do that?
Mm.
I thought this was the most normal thing in the world to do.
Yeah.
And it goes on and on and on. Like when I started going to bars at 16, not because I drank, I never drank, but I enjoyed dancing. And there were a lot of there was a lot of live music.
Yeah.
And I started going at 16 and I couldn't understand why, I was with my older friends, but there was never anybody my age. Like, why wouldn't their parents do that? And how cool am I, that I could do this? But growing up and then becoming an adult and looking back in hindsight, it was like, oh my God, that was so messed up, to allow some, because you don't learn boundaries, you don't learn direction.
Yeah.
You just sort of like float on your own. And that's what I did. And it led me to making lots of decisions, that ended up not serving.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's really impressive that you had that radical independence and radical like responsibility and maturity early on. And I'm sure it had an impact that wasn't as favorable. That's the gift, so to speak. And then there's also like being afraid for your life. Like, like having to go through sketchy neighborhoods like at 10 years old and having to feel like you have to defend yourself and take care of yourself. That must have been crazy, difficult.
It was in some respects, but if I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and at the time I loved figure skating, and it was like I ate and breathed figure skating.
Yeah,
That's what I had to do because nobody was taking me.
that's right.
And even when I would get sick, I'd walk myself to the doctor because there was nobody to take me.
Wow. Wow.
And
So you had
was
this early on, you had this independence, and then how did your journey evolve from there?
well, I I was always a hard worker. Like I would pick up 2, 3 jobs at a time. I just wanted to find out where I was going. And when I was very, very young, in high school, I had a high school boyfriend,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to go to college and leave town.
Right.
I wanted to be with my boyfriend, and I just knew, through conversation, whatever, that we'd probably get engaged sometime, when I stepped out of high school,
Mhm.
and that didn't work out.
Mhm.
And I just kept, then I became lost even further.
Mm.
I became very, because I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought I was going to get married and have children and,
That was going to
you
be
know,
your main thing.
that was going to be my main thing. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, now what?
Who am
So
I?
exactly, who am I? What am I? Where am I going? And
Yeah.
I felt like one of my analogies in that time period was I felt like a pinball ball.
Mm.
That's, the game pinball, and you would bounce and bounce and bounce, and then once in a while you'd go into one of those holes, and it would let you rest there before it popped you out. And then you get hit around for a while, and then you find another place that you sit for a
Mhm.
while, and it pops you out. That was like an analogy of my life, because I would bounce around trying to find something, and I'd find something that I'd be really happy with for 3, 4 years, and then it was something would happen, and I wasn't taught conflict resolution, how to deal with personality conflicts, especially from management,
Yeah.
because nobody was there to teach it to me. And so, it caused a lot of trauma and drama in my life.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so
So what
that,
like what were some unserving ways that you handled and processed emotions and things that weren't going your way back then?
my fight and flight were just like right there. It was ready to go. So there's one job that I really loved and I did very, very well at,
Yeah.
but the company was sold to another organization, and they
Mm.
brought in a manager who she was a person who was a numbers person.
Mm.
She was not a people person. She
Mm.
didn't know how to deal with creative people, because I was in catering,
Yeah.
and we were all creatives, most of us, I should say.
Mm.
And she just was abrasive. She cackled. It reminded me of the cackle of the good witch. I'm not the good witch, the bad witch from the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, it would send chills up and down my spine listening to her laugh. And like after everything that I did, for my department,
Yeah.
I just ran into a wall. And so I finally got so stressed out that I'm like, okay, fine, I'll find something else. And I found a job being a flight attendant for an international charter.
Mm.
And so after being at this company for, I can't remember if it was like 4 or 5 years, I gave them 3 hours notice.
Wow.
That is not a smart thing to do. Not a smart, burning bridges left and right, because I thought, it doesn't make a difference. Well, yes, it does.
Yeah.
How you handle these things make a big difference on
Mm.
so many levels.
Mm. So if there was someone who's going through a difficult situation right now, or who might be in a similar position or similar mindset as you back then, what would be the wisdom that you would give to them so that they can really appreciate what they have and be more tactful, be more, better handle it?
Well, first of all, I'd say don't do anything knee jerk.
Mm.
Don't do anything from emotion.
Mm.
Give yourself time to, whether it's 24 hours or if it's 48 or a week or 2 weeks, but give yourself time to be able to calm down the emotions
Yeah.
so you can actually be rational.
Yep.
And then I would say try to find someone who you can talk to, who can guide you. I didn't have those people in my life, so I had nowhere to turn. And I'm like, okay, now what do I do? Try to find someone in your life who can guide you, who can
Mm.
give you some really great common sense.
Mm.
Even if it's somebody you wouldn't think would help you, ask for help.
Mm.
People really want to help other people.
Yeah.
People like to help other people. So that would be my guidance for this.
Mm. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. I love it, and I love the cooling down period. Don't make those emotional decisions, because typically it's something that if it's a good decision, you can look at it a week later or 2 weeks later and still say, yeah, that's a great decision. Versus if you make it in the moment, you haven't had time to really sit and chew on it and process it.
Right. And say, okay, A, B, C, D. What if you want to get back in this business? Now
Mm,
you've burnt your bridge. Now you're going to start having a bad relation, a bad reputation as somebody as a hothead who, just can't, make good decisions. And
yeah.
people don't want to hire people who they feel don't make good decisions.
Yeah. Plus, I think there's the energetic aspect of it that you take yourself with you wherever you go. So if you energetically created a circumstance where someone else triggers you and you haven't healed that yet, you're going to take that to the next position.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But this whole thing that went on at this company really played with my self-esteem and my
Um,
self-confidence.
yeah.
And I kept running into that wall too. And then of course then I started beating myself up about not being worthy, not deserving, and it's the self-talk we go into, like, why am I not where I think I should be? Of
Mm.
course, ego always thinks, ego's like a peacock in a way. And it's like spreads the feathers out and it's like, here I am. So
Yeah. But then behind closed doors, it's like, man, my feathers suck.
yeah, exactly. Like, oh, they're really wilty today. What's wrong with that?
That's so awesome. So I love it. That's a great analogy. Is like, we want to be big and bold and present ourselves as our greatest possible self. And then there's also the other aspect of how do we think about ourselves and look at ourselves behind closed doors when we're by ourselves. And that's like your journey of loving yourself was a prime example of understanding how do I show up in with other people? How do I show up in difficult situations, high emotions when things don't go my way? How do I show up behind closed doors? So you really get to see all these different dimensions of yourself and get this wisdom and perspective over time.
Yes, but it was a hard road to,
Yeah.
I had to hit bottom
Mm,
before I took, started taking proper action.
mhm.
And yeah, I didn't even realize when I started going down my spiritual journey what I was even doing. All I knew is that I needed help and nothing was working in my life. I was in a horrible marriage,
Mm,
and my first husband was an alcoholic, and
mm,
he was mean. And the thing is people who worked with him thought he was the best guy in the world because he had this facade of being this wonderful person, and yet he'd come home and it'd be like Jekyll and Hyde.
wow.
And one day I just hit my when I hit bottom, when I realized just how bad my life was.
Mm,
I was having pains in my chest and I thought I was having a heart attack. And I tried to get him up to come with me to the hospital and I couldn't get him up. So I'm
wow.
like, well, I'm going to the hospital. And I put myself in my car and I drove to the hospital. And while I'm there a few hours and
Mhm.
the phone rings and it's like, where are you? I said, I'm at the hospital. And he's like, what are you doing there? I said, I tried to wake you up. I was having chest pains. So he put the kids in a taxi and he came to the hospital, and I think they stayed 15 minutes and they turned around and they left.
Wow.
And it was just like, oh my God, really? I'm sitting here in emergency and 15 minutes is what I get. And that's when I went home and I just sunk into a very low, a deep, deep depression.
Mm,
And where I didn't know where to go and what to turn. And I went to this women's conference. I saw that there was a women's conference about 2 weeks later.
mhm,
And I was looking to see, is there anything interesting in there for me? Does anything resonate? And there was a woman who was talking about how to heal yourself.
mm,
And I'm like, oh God, I need to listen to this because everything I've been doing is not working. So I had been going to talk therapy since 1 month after getting married to my husband. That
wow.
was a long time to
Yeah.
not have anything change. And everybody would say, oh, if you change, everything around you will change. No, not so true.
No.
It wasn't changing.
That's I think that's so frustrating is that oftentimes we in personal development and personal growth, we're like, man, if I just grow myself, then I can turn like mud pies into chocolate cake and the most delicious treats. And it's like, well, you can't change people. That was a really hard lesson for me to learn, seeing the potential in people and who they could be, and especially if they had like lots of talent, but there was these areas that just totally rubbed me the wrong way, and I would stay and invest so much time into them to try to change them, to try to help them. But if they
Right.
didn't want to help themselves and change themselves, even though they might say they did, blah, 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 it's like at some point you just have to say, man, this is not worth the return on investment. You're sucking my energy. You're a vampire. And I am committed to surrounding myself with people who lift me up, who give me energy, who charge me up, who fill me with love.
And you want a quid pro quo.
Mm,
You don't mind giving when you're receiving, but
that's
when
right.
you're giving and giving and giving, and your well stays empty,
Mm,
well, you need to sort of take a look at what's going on and say, is this the way I want to live the rest of my life?
mm,
And I feel that that's why so many people get so embittered in their life and so disappointed and depressed, and
mm,
they get stuck and they can't move forward
yeah.
because of that.
Yeah.
So
And I think the amount of energy invested into a situation or a person, the more we invest, the more we're like, man, I've stuck it out this long. I better get my return on investment.
right, right. Or I've been involved. I'm into this deep. I might as well stay. It's not going to get any better. So okay.
Oh
And
man.
yeah, and it's it's very sad. It's
Mm,
very sad because it can get better. Granted, you might have to go through some processing time and
yep.
time of being alone and getting back to yourself,
Yep.
but it can definitely be better.
Yeah.
It's so much better than trying to fix somebody who's wounded, who's never going to get better.
Right. Or even if you have to break off, so to speak, a relationship, that will be a painful time. You'll feel like you'll miss them. There's some kind of payoff energetically, emotionally. There's something that fulfills them in you, or fulfills you about them. So
Right.
if there is that disconnection, if there is that cutting of ties, it's gonna hurt. And think about who you get to be on the other side of that.
Right. You get to be yourself. You get to
Yeah.
make your own game plan on
Mm,
your own because you don't have to consider somebody else. And if they're going to like it, they're not going to like it.
mm,
And you can end up in a much healthier situation than you had left.
yeah. I love it.
And it
And
doesn't make it if it's work or if it's personal.
Yeah, and Marla, I know when people have a conversation with you, if they feel stuck or struggling or they're frustrated, they're just not getting where they want to in life, they feel like their relationships aren't working, they feel like their life or business or whatever else it might be is not working. I know that they can have a conversation with you and have that, like, have a new outlook on what's possible, be able to shift that, be able to see their options and their opportunities. And especially, I know you work with them on their self-image and self-love, because that was a
Yes.
big part of your journey as well.
It's a process. And the first thing I felt I needed to do, or I don't even know if I needed to do it. I mean, okay, step back. I needed to do it, but I don't know if I was aware how
Yeah,
much I needed to do it.
that's right.
And that was, I was so angry about so many things in my life,
Mm,
projected on me from others or from myself. And so the first real thing that I noticed change with was when I started doing things that brought up anger, the
mm,
pain, the
mm.
hurt, and I was able to release it. I'm not a great crier, though I think crying is so cathartic, and I
Yes,
always have.
yes.
That at some point in my life, somebody said, "Stop crying," and I did. And so everything would just be very gone with the wind. I'll just worry
Mm,
about it tomorrow. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Repress, repress,
yep,
repress, repress, repress.
yep,
And then all of a sudden it would just regurgitate all over my life.
yeah.
And so by doing these exercises or these TTTs, as I call them, tips, tools, and techniques,
Mhm,
I would get the stuff up and out. I did it through taking a kid's bat and hitting a mattress or my massage table,
yep.
which I broke into smithereens and it flew all over my basement, which was my healing room. Um, I would box and
Mm,
I would just visualize the stressor, whether it be person, place, or thing,
mm.
on my trainer's gloves, and I would just bang it and hit, for the sweet, and he would go, "Wow," like, really? That's coming from you? Tennis, anything where you can
Yeah,
exert yourself in this capacity is a great catalyst for bringing things up.
yeah,
But once they start coming up, you have to allow them to process
yeah,
out,
yeah,
whether it's
yeah.
through screaming or crying or whatever way that is healthy
Mm.
and positive for shift and change.
Yeah, one of the things I'm really proud of my ability to be like emotional and be in tune with my emotions. and I was laying on my bed. I don't know, it was like 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and I was laying on my bed, and I just like put my hands over my heart, and like I was just reminding myself, I am more than enough. I am more than enough, and like really feeling it in every ounce of my being. And I just start crying. I just start like bawling and like weeping, and I'm just like, I felt like my soul needed to release that feeling of unworthiness, that feeling of shame, of guilt, or of whatever, and just like cry it all out. And it was so freaking beautiful and amazing and freeing. And I'm so proud that I have the level of non-judgment and love of myself and acceptance of myself in every dimension to be able to do that. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. I'm sure you've seen that too.
Well, seeing it, I've lived it.
Yeah.
It's as you're telling me that, I'm thinking, good for you, Chris. How beautiful that you're able to do that.
Thank
That's so evolved
you.
and ascended because, you know, boys are brought up, males are brought up, don't cry. It's not masculine, it's feminine, but that's a bunch of hogwash. I think
Baloney.
baloney, yes. You're a human being, and as a human being, you
Yeah.
need to emote whatever
Yes.
that emotion is, if it's done in a very healthy and constructive way.
Yeah.
That's the big part, is healthy and constructive.
Mm.
Because we can all emote, but that doesn't mean it really is it's going to help in the long run, because you're making more residue or residual to clean up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I'm curious on your thoughts on the daily process of it. Because I think what comes to my mind is when a dog, it gets up from like laying down and they shake it off, or if you like pick them up and then you put them back down and like something's not aligned, or they want to restore, rebalance their energy, they shake and they get back to like a place of centeredness after that. I'm curious what your thoughts are on like a daily process or set of rituals or things that are your go-to TTTs to get people back aligned.
Oh my God. So I'm so in favor of daily practices, whatever they are. My daily practice is praying. And in
Mm.
my prayers, I have a gratitude program. I do gratitude. I will share that probably is one of the biggest things that has opened up my heart and make me
Mm.
appreciate everything. And even if something negative comes up, I say, okay, what's the lesson in here? What am I supposed to learn?
Yeah.
And then I just let it go.
Mm.
And that's what I do. And then my prayer practice takes about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I said, I walk my dog while doing it,
Mm.
and there is a piece of it where I do gratitude,
Mm.
and I give very detailed gratitude. I break it into segments of life. Like I almost look at it as a wheel, a pie.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do my business.
Yeah.
We're going to do my health. We're going to do prosperity. We're going to do my personal life. And, I get into all these, what I'm grateful for.
This is gold.
I tell spirit, I ask for help. I
Yeah.
ask for guidance.
Yes.
Show me the path I need to walk. Bring to me the people, the opportunities, so I know which direction to take. Show
And
me.
Marla, you command it. I don't want to say command like you're putting down in someone's like subordinate or anything like that, but you know that you are the creator of your reality, and you're like, universe, God, source, spirit, creator, whatever, angels, show me. I know you want me to be happy. I know you want me to be fulfilled. I know you want me to be a force of love in this world. So help me. Show me how to do that. Show me what I need. Show me what I'm missing. Show me what is the next step. And they're like, all right, here you go.
That's exactly it.
I
And
love it.
so and then I do some clearing work.
Yep.
So I clear between myself and my life. And again, I do the same pie thing. So everything's divided.
Wow. That's amazing.
And then I go into telling spirit that I am open and ready to receive.
Yes.
And then I tell spirit what I'm open and ready to receive.
Mm.
And again, it goes into the same sort of pie. And then I go into praying for other people. I pray for the universe. I pray for, I send loving light and healing prayer to every living organism in the universe. I send it to people. I send additional loving light and healing prayer because God only knows people need it.
Yep.
Especially tolerance and patience and peace. I go into then the people that in my life that are ill or recovering, from whatever illness situation it might be, mental, physical, or emotional. And then I ask that my prayers be heard and answered harmoniously and joyfully with ease and grace. is what I ask for, better, for my highest good and for the highest good of all involved. And that's my big, long
I love it. I love
process.
it. I love
But
it. And that's great because, like you said, it's the daily, continuously pouring energy into it. I've found that when I have a magnificent obsession, a burning obsession, a burning desire for something, and I keep fueling it with my intention, with my focus, with my energy, with my prayers, with
yes,
my creation, that's when it really starts to shift. That's when magic and miracles really start to manifest in those areas.
it does. And it's the law of attraction, because
Yeah.
the law of attraction is about keeping your vibration high.
Yep.
And you can't keep your vibration high if you're beating yourself up, or if you're negative, or if you're cranky, or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
might be. Your vibrations are just not going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And what you put out is what you get back. So if your vibrations are low, like, you know, people, I know, you know, people who would just walk around saying, oh, I'm so broke, I'm so broke, I'm so broke, or I'm so miserable, I'm miserable, I'm miserable. And guess what? What comes back to them? More misery, more brokenness. And when is it going to change? People, when is it going to change? Well, when you change your vibration, when you start putting out there what it is that you want in a positive way, it will come back to you positively.
Mm-hmm.
Compliment people. Guess what? People will compliment you back.
That's right.
You know, it feels good to make somebody else feel good, and without any strings attached.
Mm, mm. I love this, and I'm gonna really share something that I've been working on. Is I'm amazing at celebrating people online, right? Like Marla, I'm sure you feel like I love having you here. It's a blast. You are amazing. Your presence, your energy, your wisdom. It's a blast, and I love celebrating you and all the guests who come on the show. And when it comes to real life, let's say the gym, right? And there's a little bit of intimidation with doing it there, with you're like complimenting people, and you get those back, and it's like, man, I don't really receive any compliments at the gym. And I'm like, oh wait, it's probably because I'm not giving any compliments at the gym either, you know? So it's like I notice sometimes people might segment their lives and they show up as a certain way in their lives and with a certain energy. And then in other areas, they might show up differently. And I think it's important to be aware, how are we showing up in all areas of our life?
Right. Exactly. And so but you need to show up. You
Yeah.
need to show up, but you need to show up with a good attitude.
Yeah.
You know, if you're showing up like, oh my God, this is, I'm not a morning person, whatever. Well, great, but it is morning, and you do need to be up, and you do need
Yeah.
to show up,
Mm.
and it'll make a difference in your day. It'll
Yeah.
be different in how people receive you and
Yeah.
how you receive yourself.
Mm.
And the
And
same goes for going to sleep.
yep.
So if you go to sleep counting your blessings and saying, I'm grateful for my day. I'm grateful that I was with Chris Burns today, and I was on
Mm.
this amazing podcast, and I was able to disseminate some amazing information, and I'm so grateful. And, I'm grateful my dog was feeling better today. Whatever it might be, you go to sleep, you feel better going to sleep. You fall
Mm.
asleep easier.
Yeah.
And then when you wake up, you feel better because you ended in gratitude, and you're going to
Mm.
start again in gratitude.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love this. I love this. And it's really giving ourselves permission to do that. You know, I think a lot of people are waiting for a sign. They're waiting for someone to come rescue themselves. And it's about stepping up and doing it on a daily basis, making that decision again on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And that's what it's got to be. It's a daily basis.
Mm.
And you make the decision up of what you need each and every day.
Yeah.
So, you can make your day good. You can make your energy go high,
Mm.
or you don't have to. But that choice is yours, and you're the only one who can be responsible for that. You can't blame the phone ringing.
Nope.
You can't blame the doorbell ringing, or even even if you stub your toe, there's a reason you stubbed your toe. There's a lesson in it. So it's
Yep.
like, okay, what is that lesson? What am I supposed to
Mm.
learn from stubbing my toe?
Wow, I love it. I love it. So
Yeah.
you also you're getting this message out in a big way with your podcast and your book. Like, tell us a little bit more about how you decided to take your wisdom and your self discoveries and your self healing and share that with the world. Like, when did that really become a priority for you?
Well, last year, it was my year of yes. So
Ah.
in 2017, I kept getting all these opportunities, and I kept saying, nope, I'm not ready for it. Nope, I'm
Mm,
busy. Nope, nope,
mm,
nope. And then I was working with a coach, and she said, Marla, you have more opportunities than the average individual.
Yeah.
And you are not taking advantage of them. You
Mm.
need to take advantage of them.
Wow.
So I said, fine. So I did what Chandra Rhimes did.
Mm.
Is that her name, Chandra Rhimes? The writer-producer who
Mm.
she wrote a book about a year of yes.
Mm.
And so I took that philosophy and it's like, yes. And so an opportunity to go to be a practitioner on a cruise line came and I said, yes.
Wow.
And there was an opportunity to participate in a compilation book. And I said no the year before. I said, catch me the next year. And I said, yes.
Wow.
And then there was another compilation book and I said, yes. And then there was an opportunity for the podcast. And I said, yes. And then this opportunity to write this book came and I'm like, I don't know what to write. And I went away to be in a quiet space and realized that I just started writing about my life. And then the title came because when I looked back on what I was writing, I was like, holy crap, this is a long fucking journey to get where I am. And my hope is to make somebody else's journey a lot shorter and easier.
Yeah.
And that was the impetus to why I wrote the book, how I titled the book, and how I put things in the book, because I take the TTTs, tools, tips, and techniques from the back, and I interject them into my life prior to knowing what they are.
Wow.
So it's like after this situation, I'd say, oh, if I only knew that, I would have done blah, 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 and put those in. And then once I learned them, it's like, this is what I put in. This is what I do, or I did for these situations. And what I still do. I still do mirror work. I still do gratitude. I still try to journal as much as I can. And I'll tell you one thing about journaling, which is brilliant, is that when you go back and you read your life, you have material for a book. So
Yep. It's just it's like it's chronologically putting who you were being, how you were showing up, what was going on in your life at that time, and it just gives you perspective. It gives you, hey, what was my journey of evolution and growth like, so that you can be able to share it with other people and empower them if they're going through a similar place or situation.
And that's my whole goal. And that's the goal for my podcast. And that's the goal for when I work with people. It's to help. It's to help them not have to go through as much stuff as I did. You know, they can knock their head against the wall a lot less than I did. And that's my mission. That's my goal. You know, that's what I want for people.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it, Marla. What do you see in the future? What do you see coming for you? I know it's a big, bright, beautiful future with limitless possibilities. What are you most excited about so far?
Well, right now I'm so excited about my book because I'm doing book events and I'm talking about it on my podcast, but I'm going on other amazing people like yourself, their podcasts, and being able to share my story and my message, and hopefully through your audience, it will help somebody. Somebody will say, you know what, I need to look into that. And they purchase it and they read it and it shifts their life and they can live a life where they're happy. I have to say, I wake up so happy and joyful every morning. I didn't always do that. And now I do. And my heart is, it just bubbles with joy constantly.
I love it. I love it so much. So awesome. So this book, the writing of the book was like last year you wrote it, right? It was like a decision to write it. How do you see that you have grown personally since writing the book and starting to share about it?
Excuse me. Well, I will tell you that it was very cathartic because having to relive some of the things that I was writing about, it did trigger me, and I'd have to pull myself away and go back. But it's been amazingly cathartic, and it's helped me grow even more because this time I was able to look at it like I was watching a TV or reading somebody else's book. I was neutral.
Yeah. And
that's a really big thing that I don't know if people are aware of, but neutrality, learning how to stay neutral in your life, and not react is the strongest position you can stay in.
Wow.
And it helps you because, again, it goes to that earlier conversation of burning bridges. If you stay neutral, then and not reactive, because it's not positive or negative. Everything is really an opportunity of growth.
Yeah.
And even happy growth. It doesn't have to be all negative to make you grow.
Mm.
Um, and so that's how I've grown. And it just made me more grateful for the life I have today,
Wow.
and realizing that I had to go through everything that I had to go through to be able to grow and learn and become the person who I am. And I'm just grateful for that.
I love it. I love it. And as you were talking, you mentioned about being neutral to the event, right? Because I think
Yes.
the things are going to happen. Like there's going to be circumstances, there's going to be tragedies, there's going to be breakthroughs, there's going to be celebrations, right? And I think
Yes.
a lot of us can get caught up with the negative things that happen. And when something happens, there's an event, right? Let's say,
Yes.
like my dad said to Chris, don't you ever be quiet and stop asking questions on a drive when I was being like, really annoying, right? But that's my story. I added that I was being really annoying. But what he said is, don't you ever be quiet. Don't you ever stop asking questions. And what I made it mean, the energy, the meaning that I attached to that event is what caused me to lose my curiosity, not want to be so self-expressed, not be willing to be vulnerable with my dad because I felt like he would judge me and like I couldn't just be myself around him. So because of the meaning that I gave to that event, that thing, that fact, what happened, that's where all of the turmoil and trauma and pain came from. People are similar. Like we get to look at what are the things that are happening. Are we adding a lot more meaning and story and judgment and like shame and guilt about what happens versus just saying, here's what happened. What do I want to choose to make it mean? And coming from that place of choosing and creatorship is so much more empowering.
So empowering. And what your story reminded me of my story when my father told me to stop laughing. And and I didn't.
No.
I became so solemn, and I
Oh,
enjoy. I loved laughing. I
you
loved playing,
do.
and
Yes.
yes, and then for a long time I didn't laugh, and people would say. I remember walking down the street, and people would say, "Smile, it's not that bad," and I'm like, "Well, I can't look that, downtrodden." But apparently I did. And now
Wow.
I walk around smiling all the time. I look people in the eye. I say hello to people. I believe in compliments.
Mm,
I compliment people because why not?
mm.
It doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't
Yeah.
cost anything.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not blowing smoke up someone's butt
Right.
side,
Right.
it's it's a great thing.
Yeah.
And what goes around comes around.
Mm,
So here's the boomerang
yeah.
of joy. You're making someone feel good. You're going to feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, I think that there might be some uncomfortability in the beginning for people to compliment others, and it's because
Yes,
they're so concerned about how they're showing up, how it's coming out. And I think simply the act of acknowledging and complimenting, you start to build that muscle, and you start to build how good it feels to serve others by putting the attention on them and appreciating them.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's and you become outward focused and not inward focused.
Yeah.
And I mean, you want to become inward focused for certain things, but when I say become outward focused, not other focused,
Mm,
outward for positive,
yes.
outward to make someone feel better, to make a
Mm,
situation better, to lend a hand,
mm,
to be of service. We're here to be of service.
yeah.
We're
I want
not
to
just here to take.
I want to dive in for someone who feels like they've had their heart broken and they can't trust people. What would you recommend to that person who's listening or watching?
Oh, okay, so it's a process.
Yeah.
Embrace your grieving, but
Mm,
don't allow yourself to be so stuck in the grief that you can't move forward because
mm,
life is about forward motion. And here's the reality this person probably is a gift that they left your life
mm,
because you wouldn't have become the person that you are, or they might be holding you back. You don't know. Or someone who's really more well suited for you might be the one you're going to round a corner and bump right
yeah.
into.
Mm,
You don't know. And everything happens for a reason.
mm,
And people come into our life for a reason, season, or lifetime. And so, not to take away what you're feeling, but that goes to my analogy of using people to fill your heart.
mm,
So we, as wounded humans, walk around with holes in our heart, and we tend to take people or things and we fill our holes by accumulating them, whether that's lots of friends, romances, lots of material things, because it makes us feel better for a millisecond.
Mm-hmm.
But then at some point, something slips away and you end up with your hole in the heart.
Yeah.
So as a former baker, I had a bakery. I like this analogy. So when you start self-accepting yourself and filling yourself with your own essence, your own self-love, I look at the heart like a big, beautiful, tasty, moist cake.
Mm.
And that way, when you bring other people or other things in, they become your frosting and decoration.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If the frosting and decoration go away, you still have this amazing cake that is going to satisfy you and fulfill you.
Wow.
So that's so I say to people who are heartbroken and who are afraid to try.
Mm.
Try. It's worth it. It's worth putting yourself out there.
Mm.
And you have to also pay attention to who you're choosing into your life. Because if you keep bringing the same people into your life, though they might have different hair color, different eye color, one might be tall, short, fat, thin, it doesn't make a difference. They're still the same energy. They're still the same personality.
Yeah.
You have to look at yourself and say, why?
Mm.
Why are you bringing the same into your world again and again and again?
Mm.
And then you need to start changing, because when you start realizing and start shifting yourself, you'll start shifting who you bring in.
Yeah.
And I know this because I lived it. I can't tell you how many relationships I had with people who were I was trying to work through relationships with my father.
Mm.
And I would pick men who were unavailable emotionally, physically, mentally, whatever they were unavailable. If they were unavailable, I was dating them. It just didn't make a difference.
You found a way in. You found a way in, even though they were unavailable. You got in there, and then you're like, "Man, I'm not getting what I need."
And it's like, why? Why isn't this working? Why? I'm so what am I? Am I not likable?
Mm.
What is wrong with me? And it was about me, but it was also about them and what I was trying to achieve. And once I started shifting, and again, removing the anger, forgiving others, forgiving myself, starting to accept myself and really like who I am. And both with the duality, the dark side and the light side, you have to like both sides. It's not just one side of the coin. We all have our dark sides, but guess what? They serve a purpose. And as long as you're not doing harm to others, then, it's okay to say, this dark side is okay. I'm okay with it, and I will accept it because it's part of who I am. Yeah. It's part of my makeup.
Would you say that the dark side, when we say, for example, like I feel a jealousy of someone, I'm like, that mother effer, like, but I don't tell them, but I just feel it. Would you say, is that the dark side, and is that something that just gets to be healed? It's an indicator of what still needs to be healed, or how would you relate to the dark side?
Well, absolutely, but you have to figure out, what are you jealous of? Are you jealous of their job? Are you jealous of their financial status? Are you jealous that they're in a really happy relationship? That makes a difference, because you have to figure out, what is it that you want, that you're coveting of somebody else's, because that's what jealousy is.
Right.
It's a form of coveting. And so it's like, okay, what is it? It's definitely a dark side. Sometimes jealousy could just be a sign that you really care more than you would let on to know about somebody. But the reality of it is if it's with another human being and you're jealous because somebody's flirting with them or something else is going on, then in my opinion, you have to say you never had anything, you don't have what you don't have. And if somebody is going to buy somebody else's line, hook, line, and sinker, that, let's say you're both flirting with the same woman. And you're like jealous because she's giving him more attention or perceived more attention than you. It's like, okay, well, maybe it's just not a right fit. There's different ways you can look at it, but you have to dissect it. You have to get introspective and figure out how it fits with you not you personally, but you, the circumstances, and why you're jealous of them.
Yeah, I hear, where is this coming from? What about my character, about my identity, about my worthiness, about my wounds is this coming from? If it's stemming from a place of scarcity, of unworthiness or not enoughness, I think that's typically in my mind what would come from a jealousy, like, oh my gosh, like I how come he gets her and I don't, right? That there's a unworthiness, that I'm not worthy to get her, quote unquote.
Right. But what if she's a really wounded bird and puts on a great face in public, and then you get to know her and she's a hot mess.
Yeah.
And she has more problems than Carter has pills, right? And so I know it's an old phrase, but it fits. And then, it's like, wow, didn't I just miss that bullet? Whew. Yep. It just passed me by, because now look at, he's got to deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm free and clear to find somebody who's healthy.
Wow.
And who resonates more with me.
Yeah. Yeah. So it might even be in our highest and best good that what we want or think we want actually isn't in our best interest.
Oh my God, you have no idea. And I can't tell you how many times I wanted something. And when you look back at it, it's like, oh my God, thank God Spirit didn't manifest it for me. We were in 3D with a heavier density. Thank God.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I love it. This is awesome. Marla, this is gold. Any final pieces of wisdom for our audience before we wrap up?
So I think, okay, so what I'm hearing to say is, be gentle with yourself. Be loving with yourself. Stop beating yourself up. Stop, going to the less than, and count your blessings. See all the positive traits you have as an individual. Yeah. And that's a great stepping stone to go to the next level. And if you realize you're angry, do something about it. Get it out of your system, because you will feel like you lost 100 pounds, and you're going to feel absolutely exquisite as a human being.
Yeah.
That's a first step.
Wow. That's amazing. I love it. Marla, how can people stay connected with you? What do we want them to do next? How do they get a hold of your awesome book?
So you can get a hold of my awesome book on my website, which is marlagoldberg.net, or on Amazon. You can contact me if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, thoughts. I'm at Marla at mghealer.com. So MARLA at mghealer.com. I'm on Facebook at Marla Goldberg, and you'll see in parentheses Levitt, because there's a lot of Marla Goldbergs out there, believe it or not.
Are there?
There are. There really are. You can find me on LinkedIn as Marla Goldberg, Twitter as at mghealer, and I post on everything. So feel free, listen to my podcast, Guided Spirit Conversations, and I love input. I love suggestions. Questions, comments. Again, I love to reach out and have a exchange. And if I can help, I'm grateful.
I love your big heart and your healed, powerful, bold, loving heart. It is awesome, the work that you've done on yourself, Marla. I'm really proud of you for owning your gifts, for owning your love, for owning your greatness. It's really inspiring, and I'm excited to see your journey, how you share it with even more people, with your podcast, with your book, with upcoming books and works and events and all kinds of things, because you got so much to share. So keep it up.
I do have one quick thing. So with my book, I'm open for book signing events. So if you have a group of people and I'm in your neck of the woods, I would love to do an event with you.
Awesome. I love it. Marla, you are the bomb. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you.
You too, Chris. Thank you.
I'll see you soon, okay?
See you soon. Take care.